welcome back to YCFT. Today we're taking a look at a horror comedy from 1995, Dracula, Dead and Loving It, which was released in Christmas 1995, which is probably the start of the issues that this film had when it was released. Would have done way better if they brought it out in October, but I digress. It's directed by Mel Brooks and stars Leslie Nielsen as Count Dracula. Now, this was a very special film for you growing up.
Yes, it is. I grew up with this movie. I have lost count of how many times I've watched it. It was a family favourite. It still is a family favourite film. And I think subconsciously I've always wanted to talk about it. I've always wanted to cover it. So we are finally doing it.
I think I've seen it when I was younger.
Right.
Because I have vivid memories of the ballroom scene when they try to catch Dracula out.
Yeah.
I remember the big mirror with her dancing with no one there.
Yeah.
But when I was watching this with you, and I gotta say, this is a hard film to source.
Yes,
it wasn't on any streaming platforms.
Unfortunately not.
But we managed.
Yeah.
I was watching it thinking, I might not have seen this.
This is not ringing a bell.
This is not ringing any bells.
Yeah.
But I have vivid memories of it when I was younger, so...
Interesting. Who knows?
So, yeah, basically me watching it for the first time.
Yes.
So, yeah, Leslie Nielsen taking on the main role. Legendary actor.
Yes, absolutely. The thing I really admire about Leslie Nielsen is he did start off as a straight actor. He was doing, these serious dramatic roles, and he wanted to do comedy. He wanted to take that leap. And I think I'm right in saying that Airplane was the first one. But I just love it because it's kind of rare. Usually it goes the other way. You start off in comedy because you want to go and do the more serious stuff. It was the opposite for him.
Yeah.
He wanted to be funny.
And he was fantastic, but he wasn't the original choice for the role, was it? They wanted Kelsey Grammer.
Which is so bizarre to me. I love Kelsey Grammer, another fantastic comedian, but it's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Obviously, Mel Brooks is a legendary comedic director. And this was the last film he directed.
It was,
I mean, he is still with us as well. Leslie Nielsen sadly passed away in 2010, but somehow Mel Brooks is still alive.
Yeah, Mel Brooks is still going it. He's alive and loving it.
Alive and loving it. I think his previous one before this one, was it? Did he do Robin Hood Men in Tights before this one?
I've never seen it.
I have. It's a lot of fun. I believe one of the actresses in this was also in that one.
I think it was Amy Yazbek.
Yes. But most famously, he did Young Frankenstein.
1974. Classic. Fantastic comedy. One of the greatest.
I have not seen.
Which David has not seen. We will remedy that.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Well, they also wanted this film to be black and white, like Young Frankenstein was.
They were thinking about it, yeah.
But then they decided to make it in colour so they could spoof Hammer films as well. So, some of the Dracula... obviously make it black and white to harken back to Bela Lugosi.
Yes.
But there's been so many incarnations of Dracula at this point, including the Francis Ford Coppola one at this point.
Yes.
There's a great gag where he takes his headpiece off as a hat to hang it up, like Gary Oldman's headpiece.
You may take my hat.
So they decided to keep it in colour, make it quite, saturated and vibrant to pay homage to those films.
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
For the most part, this does just follow the story of Dracula.
Beat for beat, pretty much. This is actually a very faithful adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel, which is bizarre to say. And what I think this movie highlights so wonderfully is actually the story of Dracula lends itself to comedy very well. I mean, yes, we have a wonderful cast of, very experienced comedians. And also, dramatic actors as well. Yeah,
Mel Brooks also takes on the role
of Van Helsing. Abraham Van Helsing. But yeah, so I think the actors, are a huge part of it. But actually, beat for beat, it's actually Dracula can be funny.
It makes a couple of key changes, which we think really work. So rather than have Jonathan Harker go to Transylvania
to meet Dracula,
it's Renfield.
In this, Renfield is the lawyer. Yeah.
And who plays Renfield in this one?
Peter McNichol.
He arrives, he meets Count Dracula, becomes his familiar and brings him across. Basically, makes him his bitch and brings him across to London. It was not filmed in London, it was filmed in California.
It was filmed in Culver City, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Come, Renfield.
And I realised that Jonathan Harker's it's an interesting character, how dull he actually is.
Yes.
And I think it works so much better having the beginning of the film be Renfield and then introducing Harker later. We realised when watching this structure just It just works, and Peter McNichol, it might actually be my favourite Renfield.
You look poorly, Master. You're all dried out. Here, you should have fluids.
Yes, I agree. I think I will start with the first meat.
I will fall on this sword. This movie has the best Renfield and the best Harker
Yeah,
put to
what's the name
film.
of the guy who plays Harker?
Stephen Webber.
Stephen Webber. What else have I seen him in, though?
You've seen him in, more than likely, Stephen King's version of The Shining.
Yes.
He plays Jack.
Yes, that's what I have seen him. And he is a really good Jonathan Harker.
He is phenomenal. I also think he looks like Christian Bale. I never noticed that as a kid, and then rewatching it, I'm like, holy shit, they could be twins,
Yeah.
which threw me. But yes, I totally agree with you. And I think I must have seen this film before I read Stoker's novel, because I remember being really confused when I first read it, thinking, why is Harker going to visit Dracula?
Yeah.
Why is Harker trying to sell him Carfax Abbey? I always thought it was Renfield.
So
It always confused me.
this film inspired you to read the novel.
Basically, yes. Yes. So thank you, movie.
It's like the jokes start like right off the bat. It's like,
Yeah.
children of the night.
What a mess they make.
Rat
Shit
shit.
all over the place.
Children of the night. What a mess they make. I am Count...
That was a bit where Dracula walks through this webbing,
Web.
and Renfield tries to follow him, and he gets all wrapped up in it. And soon he's like, "Oh, I thought I could just walk through it, just like it is." Renfield. I don't care.
I don't care.
It's Leslie Nielsen's delivery of some of the lines in this
Yeah.
film.
Renfield, I don't care.
It's not quite like Airplane level where the jokes are, like every 3 seconds or something ridiculous, but it's just it's just silliness.
Yeah.
Silliness ensues right from the
I
get-go.
think one of my favourite moments, it's probably one of the most famous moments in the films when Dracula comes out of his coffin and hits his head.
I must move the coffin or the chandelier.
Yeah.
It's just the way he delivers
I
certain
know.
lines. And even like Renfield is just so funny.
Renfield is delightful.
Yeah, he ends up in an asylum, like Renfield does
Yes.
in his story, and they kind of use him to try and find Dracula. He's just trying to like eating bugs when he was having meetings with doctors and stuff like that, and they're just like, "Huh, you just ate that bug?" No, I didn't.
How silly of me. Must have been my imagination. There, you did it again.
Huh?
You just put a bug in your mouth. I think it was a spider.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
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 I did not.
I did not. You did.
But during like the big ball scene where Dracula then escapes with Mina through the windows, Master, I mean, Mister.
Master! I mean, Mister!
It leans into something that Mel Brooks intended with all the characters. Like all the women were to be beautiful,
Yes.
but all the men were to be idiots,
Yes.
morons. And even Harkonnen says like, "Are you sure he's his master? I thought he called him Mister."
He called Dracula master.
I thought he said Mr.
That was only a ruse to fool the feeble-minded.
They're all so dumb,
Yes.
and it just works. It really, really works for me.
Everything really does. Yeah, it's not I don't know if you call this like a high class comedy necessarily. I don't even know what I mean by that. But just, critics did not enjoy this film when it was released. It got shat on from basically everywhere.
But Mel Brooks confronted Roger Ebert over his.
Oh, I'm happy he did. Yeah, I am happy he did because I think this film was very unfairly maligned when it was released, and we can talk about why maybe that was. If it was just the timing, were audiences maturing? Did they want something a bit saucier, a bit more offensive?
Let's be fair. So I think it unfairly gets compared to Young Frankenstein a lot, even though there's a large gap. We're currently comedy-wise, we're in a post-Airplane world, and not that far off Scary Movie.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think this movie just kind of came out at the wrong time. It didn't help that it came out at Christmas instead of Halloween. Considering it only made $11 million on a $30 million budget, I don't know if that would have saved it entirely. So I think there was Vampires in Brooklyn that came out around the same, around Halloween as well, which also didn't do very well.
No.
So maybe people just weren't really into vampires. Maybe if it came out closer to Francis Ford Coppola's, like within a year of that might have
Maybe,
helped it.
yeah, this was 3 years after
But maybe
Coppola's
just
birth.
audiences were after something a little bit different. And we saw that when Scary Movie came out.
Yes. Maybe, I don't know, like, audiences, we always seem to have an on-off love affair with vampires.
Yeah.
It's like, it's either really hot or it's really cold.
Well, we've discovered that the last 2 years. Abigail didn't do very well. Renfield didn't do very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Last Voyage of the Demeter didn't do very well. I mean, that didn't get released in the UK, but still, like, all three of those movies were massive financial disappointments.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe just everyone's kind of fallen out of love with vampires again.
Maybe. It's very cyclical, yeah, our relationship with vampires.
One thing I really like that I discovered when we were researching is that Mel Brooks, he doesn't direct, obviously doesn't direct anymore.
No.
Still appears in the odd thing every now and then, but he was in Hotel Transylvania 2 playing Vlad,
Yeah.
Dracula's dad.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I like to think that is a nod to this film.
Yeah. Yeah, but probably. I love that. So even though the film didn't do well, I'd like to think that all the cast and crew still have a big affection for this movie, and I absolutely do. I've always loved it.
Well, we also go behind the scenes for this, and it looks like everyone's having so much fun
Yeah. Everyone's
working on it.
laughing.
And when you've got like this type of cast, of course it's going to be fun. But it also looked like there was a lot of deleted scenes on the Demeter.
Yeah, it looks like they did a whole sequence on that ship where Dracula kills off the crew.
Yeah, which isn't in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I would have liked to have seen. Should we talk about a couple of moments in it that we really...
Please.
I really like, when he wants to send a message to Mina.
Yeah.
So he goes to like the stewardess in the theatre, gives her instructions. Now you'll forget everything I told you. Forget everything about me. She goes up, opens the door, and opens the curtains.
Just blanks. Yeah.
Hello, can I help you, sir?
Can I help you, sir? What is the matter with you? Why did you not tell him?
About what?
What was that? Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just silly jokes that aren't offensive.
Yeah.
It's just so a YouTuber I saw recently was like they described it as joyful buffoonery, and I think that is just the perfect way to sum up this film. Yeah, the gags are great.
Give him an enema.
I was just going to say, so Dr. Seward, I can't remember the actor's name. I know most of the cast in this, but he eludes me. I think it's Harvey Korman, maybe. Yeah, put him in a straitjacket and give him an enema. Wait, give him an enema first, then put him in the straitjacket.
Put him in a straitjacket and give him an enema. Wait! Give him an enema first, then put him in a straitjacket.
And he does that with all his patients. He's just obsessed with giving out
He
enemas.
goes, no, not another enema.
Not another enema. Yeah, it's wonderful. Peter McNichol and the guy that plays Dr. Seward, I absolutely fantastic. So many scenes with Lucy that I adore. Lucy is played by Lizette Anthony, a great British actress. She never really took off Lizette's, but she pops up in a lot of big stuff. She was in, just a little tangent, she was in a Jack the Ripper TV movie with Michael Caine, which was phenomenal. She was also in Without a Clue with Michael Caine, the spoof on Sherlock Holmes from around the same time. Love that. But yeah, she... Lucy, we've talked about how Lucy is just destined to die in every adaptation of Lucy Westenra, and so Dracula bites her, she dies. And she seduces Jonathan, who goes to stand guard over her crypt. And there's just this wonderful seduction scene of, she tries to tempt him into the dark side. She wants to bite him.
I show you the deep, raw passion of unbridled sexual frenzy.
But Lucy, I'm British.
But so are these.
It's just, I love it. I love it so much. And then Lucy's staking scene, which is probably the most iconic scene in this whole movie.
Because this is a pretty bloodless film.
Up until this moment.
Yeah. Although, there was a fun advertising campaign about it, mimicking the Got Milk
Campaign?
posters, but it was Dracula blood over his lips saying Got Blood.
Got blood.
Even Hark says, there's so much blood.
Stephen Webber's reaction to this is wonderful. So yeah, she's retired back to her crypt coffin thing, and Van Helsing says to Harker, you need to be the one to stake her. It needs to be someone that loved her in life. Jonathan's like, well, I really liked her. And Van Helsing said it's close enough. So he goes to stake her. We don't see the body, we just see the movement of the stake going in. Just this volcano of blood erupts all over Jonathan Harker. And it's just Stephen Webber's reaction to it, I just think is absolutely priceless.
Yeah.
It's Oh my.
But he has to do it again, doesn't he? And there's even more. I think that I've nothing to back this up. I think there was more blood there than he was expecting.
But yeah, well,
His reaction is so genuine.
yeah. Oh my god! And then when he has to do it again, and he just like defeated when another huge spurt just comes.
That's what makes me think like they on purposely upped the blood.
She's almost dead.
She's dead enough.
Pretty much the only gory scene in the whole film. But yeah, the movie, as we were saying, like, it does kind of follow beat for beat the plot of the story. So in this one, Dracula has his eyes set on Mina. There's a fun feud he has with Van Helsing. Constantly want to get the last word on each other.
Good night.
Abaluta.
Such arrogance.
And there's also this wonderful thing of Mina and Harker have been engaged for 5 years and completely innocent as the day is long. Don't touch each other. They've not engaged in anything even remotely sexual, even borderline even romantic. And there's a fantastic scene earlier on in the movie where they're at the theatre where they first meet Dracula. And I can't remember the play that they're seeing or the opera that they're seeing, but Harker's talking about the plot. And he's talking about how it's filled with passion and temptation and seduction and sex.
The music is fraught with love, hate, sensuality, and unbridled passion. All the things in my life I've managed to suppress.
All the things in my life I've managed to suppress. And then obviously, like, when Mina inevitably gets bitten and it awakens this carnal sexuality in her, and Harker just doesn't know how to handle it. It's the same, like, it's a fairly faithful adaptation of the story. It deals with all the key themes of Dracula, just in a very comedic way. And it's actually bizarre that there's not been more spoofs on Dracula. I just want to... Can we talk about Peter McNichol for
Oh, it's Renfield.
I fucking adore him so much.
I was so happy when I managed to pick out a reference that involves his character that you didn't get.
What was this?
The stairs.
Oh, yeah, near the end.
It follows right after they release Renfield. So they capture him after the ball, throw him back into his cell and say, you won't be getting out of here for a long time. But 30 seconds later, right, you're free to go.
But how? Good behaviour.
Like,
I've only been here for a moment.
Well, you say, you've been released for good behaviour. It's something like, but I've been awful. It's like, well, for the last 30 seconds, you've been a model patient.
Oh. Yeah, Peter McNichol's, like, noises and physical acting is just wonderful. Like, he has these funny, like, exclamations of just sound.
Yeah. So they release him, and he's like, I might be getting followed. So he kind of runs around like...
I know what they're up to. They think I'll lead them to the master. I must outsmart them. Lost him.
Follow him to like where Dracula's staying. But see where that Renfield falls down the stairs. That is how Renfield dies in the Bela Lugosi film. I saw those stairs and I was like, that's the original film.
Interesting, because I can't really remember the Lugosi version at all.
I mean, even would you say like the cape is very like Dracula's cape is very Christopher Lee.
Oh,
with the red lining, but then the amulet and everything is very like the whole deck. The rest of the decor was very Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, I don't think
there's definitely some references to the Frank Langella one as well. In fact, I think some of the music was used for the trailer for the.
Yeah, there's a lot of the Frank Langella in.
Yeah,
in
also
this.
the early part of the film. It's very much Gary Oldman inspired.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
I do like the little nods to this, and I think this film it's more for people who are fans of Dracula as a novel.
Yes.
And I think there'll be a lot there for people to pick up on. And maybe that's another reason why people just weren't that into it.
Maybe. Was it too faithful an adaptation?
Yeah. I love it when they end up having this walk over Renfield to get up the stairs and they're just like stamping on his crotch every time.
Yeah, it's like they start off like walking over him on his chest. And then someone else walks over him and it's near the belly. And then the last person that goes over him, it gets further and further down.
Yeah.
stamps on his dick on the way up the stairs. So that's kind of Renfield out the picture until the very, very end. But yeah, I just adore Peter McNichol's performance. Even before he is hypnotised by Dracula, he's a great comedian. Like, he really is brilliant. But as soon as he is turned and he does become Dracula's minion, just everything about it, yeah, it's just his physical performance. Like, he physically kind of like caves in on himself and hunches over slightly, and just that unhinged, like, twitchy look in his eye, and I just adore it. He is the standout for me in this. I think he's brilliant. All of the cast are wonderful.
Yeah.
But I'm all about McNichol.
The hypnosis scene with Mina and the housekeeper.
Oh god, it's great.
You are in the closet.
Mina.
Walk to the terrace door. Watch out for the foot. Stool.
Dracula himself is an idiot, but he acts as though it's everyone else. Everyone else is at fault.
I've heard him described as Dracula is the victim in this film because he's surrounded by idiots.
Like, he's just surrounded by these fucking tools. Yeah, I know. It's, oh god, yeah, it's so great. And when he's like, wait, I'll come to you. So he goes into the room, and he emerges with a bundle in his arms. You assume it's Mina, and he's talking about, you will be my bride throughout eternity. We'll do the immortal dance of love. And then it's the fucking nursemaid who gets really excited about it, and he just drops her. Not you. Goes to pick up Mina, and he just repeats it.
Really quick.
You will be my bride throughout eternity.
You will be my bride throughout eternity. We'll share the endless passion of immortal love.
Yeah.
But there's some scenes there, like when they're dancing, like back at Carfax Abbey with all the candles or something. This is actually just a really nicely put together scene, and they absolutely use body doubles. That is not Leslie Nielsen.
That is absolutely not Amy Yazbek either. Beautiful scene though, and then you got the shadows who just start fucking against the wall.
The running joke of his shadow just having a life of its own.
Yeah, it's
and that's something from Dracula, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie, obviously, it is a spoof, but production design wonderful. The music is sensational. The costumes, like they really do go all out.
Yeah.
This is a very sumptuously gothic production.
Yeah, the visual effects. Cool.
Not so much.
We're talking about mid-90s visual effects because he does turn into a bat at one point. It was a bat with Leslie Nielsen's head. I've seen some behind the scenes of him wearing just a grey suit with some tracking markers.
Yeah.
Very rudimentary
Yeah.
tracking markers. It does the job, and I think it wouldn't have worked for me if it was just a bat. I'm really happy we had this
It's just
weird, just Leslie Nielsen like clearly in some sort of like bat makeup.
Yeah.
Composite onto this bat's body.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Like, comedies I always give a bit of a pass when it comes to visual effects.
Yeah.
Because it's not important.
It's not important. It's really not. It literally is just Leslie's face in bat wings.
Yeah.
And the stupid ears as well when he flies into the window. And at the very end, where they're trying to get him, and they confront him at the Abbey in the attic upstairs, and they're pulling the wood off the windows to let the sun shine through. So he has to go back to being a bat. And he's hiding in the rafters and the beams. And Renfield just opens the trapdoor, lets this stream of sunlight in. And Dracula, as he's dying in bat form, Renfield, you asshole.
You asshole.
You asshole. Love it.
This way!
Renfield, you asshole!
I'm glad that I've been made to discover it, rediscover it, or maybe discover it from the first time. We're not entirely sure.
No. But also, again, I realised that this is probably my first introduction to Dracula, because I did not read the novel prior to watching this movie. This movie came first for me.
For me and a lot of people, Scary Movie was their introduction to Scream.
Yes.
Or How I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah. And it's, like, we love it because it is an inoffensive, light-hearted, spoofy, silly comedy.
Yeah. Which ultimately, weirdly, is actually a pretty good adaptation of Dracula.
Yeah.
We found this when we did Blackula. I don't know what we were expecting from that, but what we actually got was, this is actually a pretty good Dracula story.
It's a solid adaptation. Yeah.
I think the Dracula story is just easy to adapt well, because the story ultimately is very simple, and you can move the pieces around.
Yeah.
And it still just works. Like this one, it takes a few liberties.
Yeah. But which adaptation hasn't?
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of need to, because we've talked about this before, but for a screenwriter, the biggest hurdle that you're confronted with immediately when adapting Dracula is that it is an epistolary novel. It's not written in prose, it's diary entries, and it kind of goes back, I think maybe back and forth in time, like different perspectives at least anyway. So you have to heavily adapt it to make it a coherent story.
He's also, if you're talking about a modern day screenwriter, he is the most adapted character.
He is the most adapted character on screen. Yeah.
Even by the time we get to this in the 90s, there have been a lot of Dracula adaptations prior to that. So that story is easy to adapt, but it's tough to adapt them in new and interesting ways. And I think doing it as a spoof
It's great.
It's great because it's just fun. Leslie Nielsen was actually the oldest actor to portray the role at 68.
He was 68, yeah. Leslie Nielsen's never looked young.
Never looked it. But I think the last time that Bela Lugosi played him, he might have been like 66, 67, so he wasn't that far. Who thought at the time Gary Oldman was the youngest at 36 or 34 to play him?
I know, and yeah, Chris Lee. How old was he?
He was like 37.
God, he looks older than 37.
Chris Lee's always looked old as well.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of young Draculas.
I mean, we do modern day.
Modern day? Not. Oh, I guess we do actually. There is one in the making that I saw. Caleb Landry Jones is going to be playing him.
I've not heard of this one.
And I think it's gonna be a love story. But I don't know. I think Caleb's like in his early 30s, maybe. So
I think because the character needs to be old. I think mid-30s onwards is kind of like that time, that prime time to be like frozen in time of youth, but also have lived enough life to be able to play an older character. I think having a Dracula in his early 20s
would work.
Because in the time period it's set, that type of at that age range, you're not going to be able to like successfully walk around, the elite of London.
And also, Clay's Bang, probably the most recent one I've seen. Yeah, most recent Dracula.
Well, as anyone who's seen our video knows, really like Clay's Bang as the character.
Fantastic, but I don't know how old Clay's is. I'm going to suggest early 40s, maybe when he did that. Yeah, potentially. But yes, we digress. There's been many Draculas over the years, but it does surprise me that there's not a lot of comedy adaptations of the story, and this one I think is the best. I do love Hotel Transylvania.
There are comedy films with vampires in, but very few straight up comedy adaptations of the source material
of Dracula. Yeah, it's a shame that this was Mel Brooks's last movie, but I think it's probably one of those films that underappreciated at the time, and as the decades go by, people rediscover it and they're like, actually Dracula does have in it. It's great.
We have definitely had comments on this channel when we've mentioned wanting to do this film that have been like, oh my god, yes. And a lot of people I've spoken to about this film, it's either I've never heard of that, or oh my god, yes, it's great. Yeah. So it does have a fan base.
It does.
It needs to get itself on a streaming service of some kind so more people can discover it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to have worked as hard as I did to source this movie.
I also just, something completely unrelated to everything we've just said, I really appreciate the actors' British accents in this. Because I don't think any of them, aside from Lizette Anthony, are actually British. They're all American. So when you see, like, especially Amy Asbeck and Steven Weber, just as they're chatting together, and it's so over dramatic. Oh Jonathan, oh Mina, dearest. It's so over the top.
But they're committed to it.
Yeah, they're completely committed to it. And again, that booby scene where Lizette Anthony's trying to seduce Jonathan, like showing off her boobs. And Stephen Weber's reaction, like, he's almost repulsed. And he does that very British thing of, I'm
undead. Yeah, well, I'm not unengaged. Thank you.
I suppose we have to play like, to our American audience, we Brits are not like that.
We're not prudes. I don't know where the whole thing came from. We are so far from it.
We are so far removed from that interpretation of us.
Centuries ago, maybe.
I do like seeing that is when you see it in like modern day comedies, and we still have like the uppity Londoner.
Yeah, the upper class.
Oh my! I don't think that will ever go away.
No, it's a stereotype.
But anyone who pops over to the UK, even for a day, will know. Oh my god, they have descended so far.
Yeah, exactly. Modern day Britain is a very different place. We don't live like Downton Abbey.
No,
absolutely not.
Let's be fair. If we were living in Downton Abbey, we'd be downstairs. There's absolutely no way we'd be upstairs.
I'd probably be dead. Like typhoid by now, or
Actually, yeah, we'd be
TB.
classed as middle aged by then.
Yeah, I should go on the game.
Hey, we went on a bit of a
Yes,
bit of a tangent there. Do you have any more notes on this film?
I don't. I had very few to begin with. It was basically just my standout moments, of which there are many. Last scene I want to point out when Dracula is choking Harker at the end, and he's like, I'm gonna take your beloved. There is nothing in the world you can do to stop me.
Pokes him in the eyes.
Ow!
I was like, in that scene, they do show off Dracula's like strength.
Yeah.
Because he's like fighting off 3 men.
Yeah.
Very.
And he takes them out
easy.
fairly easily. It's Renfield.
It's the buffoonery that defeats him.
The buffoonery, yeah.
Ultimate. Oh, what's the line when they're listing off all the things that Van Helsing is qualified in?
Like philosophy and psychology and gynecology.
Oh, you got a hand in that. I didn't know you had a hand in that.
And gynecology.
Oh, I didn't know you had your hand in that too.
It's just fun. That is it. Ultimate. This movie is just...
It's just silliness.
Silliness.
Joyful buffoonery.
Joyful buffoonery. I might even put that in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. Let us know if you've watched this one, and what's your favourite Mel Brooks film?
Yeah. What's your favourite scene from this movie as well?
Do you think Kelsey Grammer would have been better for the role?
Interestingly, Steven Weber played Harker. He seemed to say that Kelsey was potentially up for his role as well.
Yeah.
Which in my mind makes a bit more sense. I could see Kelsey doing Harker.
Yeah. We also remember Kelsey
Dracula.
was massive with... had Frasier started at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the film would have actually been more successful if they managed to get him in one of these roles. But ultimately, I'm very happy with the casting.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's just... sometimes films just flop and they shouldn't. And this currently holds an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that is criminal. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, it means
Yes.
fuck all.
It really...
But you can use it as a way to see what audiences think of films at the time, and like, come on.
Yeah. That's just unfair. That's what I mean. Much maligned.
Yeah.
Unfairly. So we need to change that.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
We'd like to shout out our groovy members. We appreciate everything you do for this channel and helping us grow. You guys are awesome.
So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.